Yeshua. Oh, Yeshua. My beloved is the most beautiful among thousands and thousands. God, Yeshua. All right. Now, something just got deposited into my spirit um, yesterday as I was looking at the elections. I went in the morning at 8. It was nice just behind my house here. 15 minutes I was done. Had an engagement with a short man there because I had him discuss with some woman, and they were going on about black people and how white people were good. I let it be, and I wanted to bring it to their attention that, in fact, they are not doing much by talking about it, but they are equally guilty. I made an illustration to them and I showed them because I wanted to communicate that we South Africans, we are okay with corruption. We just have a problem with the extent to which it may be happening. Or maybe we don't have a problem with corruption. Our problem is if it gets to be involving large monies, we are corrupt, all of us. I mean, if you go to ShopRite checkers here at the crossroads, Kamhlanga, what you will find is somebody walks into the shop and goes straight to the queue before they buy. Then they say to a person on the queue, I'm behind you. Then they go shopping. They come back with their groceries, and the queue would have grown at the time. Go straight in front and say, I was here. And they join the queue. Then I ask this couple, these people, do you realize that if about 10 people are going to be doing that, can you see that explains the reason for long queues that are not moving? Because people are corrupt. You stand on the queue before you buy. You book the queue before you go shopping. And I said to them, you may not understand what I'm saying. We were in a school and I said, look at this school. The butlers are broken. There's just damage. These are our children who are doing this thing. Are they doing this at home? No. Why are they then vandalizing their own school, their own, what do you call it again, resource that is needed for their better tomorrow? What else are they doing? And I said to them, as it stands over the weekends, while people take their children to camps and they speak to them concerning the future and intentionally against us. And I asked this man, where are our children during the weekend? He says they would have disappeared from Friday night. We most likely to see them Sunday afternoon. And I said, where do they disappear to? To alcohol and stuff. And I said, have you walked around this place and spoken to the young men who are not going to school and asked them why they dropped out? And I said to him, everything that I brought to your attention, it is corruption at a different level. But we do not frown at it, neither do we do anything about it. And it's exactly where we can do something about it. Yet we want to stand and point fingers at people who are up there. And I said to him, do you know the politicians were once children in a community like the children in the community, were once like men and women who go to ShopRite and begin to pull a corrupt act. So why do you think they will translate into anything else other than corrupt leaders? So before we worry about the bad fruit on the tree, let us check the seed we are planting and change the seed should we not require the type of fruit we have. And I said to them, you see, white people are bad to black people but good to themselves. They are united, they do stuff for themselves here. You would notice the only time they will allow you into their space is if you are going to contribute to make their space better, not to come to their level. Do you know they did that even with the gospel? When they brought the gospel here in the first century, when they got in here, the missionaries who were sent by the Roman Catholic from the other side and to come here and bring the gospel, They decided this is what they would do. They will tell us that we need to be converted, but they would not baptize people. They will not come out with the truth of salvation. So if you're thinking the Bible was used to colonize people, you are very limited in your thinking. Very limited. They avoided using the Bible because the Bible was going to liberate people, and they just gave people it. And I'll tell you why. They said if we baptize them, it means they then become equals to us because they believe strongly in that. If we allow them to partake in the Holy Communion, if we give them the truth of salvation, then we must treat them as family. So they did that. Now I'm showing you, I'm not in any way raising a race card here. I'm showing you that they are, as a race, working to make and develop themselves, making themselves better and stronger. Everything they constructed in South Africa was not cognizant of the possibility of the growth of the nation at large. They were only catering for themselves. That is why you do have. The other day, I watched a documentary on a place called Clive's. What? They tell you they don't need any other race in there. It's only white and African speaking. That's it. There's Orania and there's one here in Pretoria. Now I'm using that to highlight the plight of young people, of black people beyond the politics, down to our way of life. So when you look at them, they are strong in terms of family values. They are strong in terms of preservation of the race. You know, what are we doing? Everything goes with us. Whatever that looks good on TV, our children bring it, we endorse it. In time, we adopt it. We go to the church, you find the same thing. Those people, our white counterparts, in the church, you still find them treating the church as the church. Did you know another thing that they held back from us? It's giving. The missionaries, they taught people anything else, but giving was never part of what they effectively taught. And that is why you'll be surprised. When you go to white churches, you find them voluntarily giving. They pledge. They are not pushed. Even when they don't go to church, they send their giving because they know the secret and the spiritual connotation of giving, particularly to the economics of an individual. Now, you would notice how we give. We only give when we are tricked. We only give when we are sold water and oil. We only give when we are told it is going to do some stuff. We don't give as something we believe from God. Having said that, we are coming from voting as a nation. And now, where to from here? That's what I was contemplating on yesterday, even after the conversation with the people I spoke to. Where to from here? What's next? It's important to notice that, firstly, we've had a political transition, which is going to lead to a political change and a political influence. But what is the next thing that must happen now that politically we have made a mark? We have transitioned. What needs to happen right now? Oh, I will tell you, thank you for asking. And what is going to happen is we need to then begin to make a spiritual adjustment. There need to be a spiritual move. Now I'll show you this. Israel departs from Babylon, that's a political move, and they come into Canaan. But what is the first thing they do? We will look into that. So after the political, what's next? Then the spiritual. The political creates an environment for a nation to build, to recuperate, to regroup. But what is it that they will do that will facilitate the regrouping, what is it? The coming together and the reconciliation and the, what is it? What's the word I'm looking for? The settlement. I don't know if you are following me. We want to speak now on the spiritual aspect as a nation. Now that we are done and dusted with political issues, if we are going to now be looking in expectation up to the politicians, we are going to have yet another reason to be complaining for the next 5 years. What do we do as the church, as believers, as the nation? We now need to begin to work on the spiritual fiber of the nation. We need to work on the spiritual sense of the nation. All right. Now I'll show you this quickly. We go to the book of Ezra. I'm going to find a way to minister from chapter 5, but we would have reflected on a number of things. Now, I'm going to read the background for you, uh, and as well as the authorship and the composition of the book of Ezra. So when I say the things I'm going to say, you will see the lessons I would want to be communicating. All right. Just a second. I need to do something on the video. There's a light that is disturbing me though. Oh, I think my spirit is in the other room. Hurry, give me a second right now. I'll be back right now. Say. All right, I'm back. So I'm saying the next phase is the spiritual. What then about the spiritual? There are things that I want to challenge us as the church and as believers to pay attention to after we have transitioned politically. We cannot therefore be waiting on the politicians. We ought to do something. All these lights, are they facing me? Well, I don't know. Let me leave them, they'll disturb me. Okay. We want to look at that. Therefore, I want to encourage us that we now need to be very spiritually alert, very spiritually activated. We need to play a big spiritual part right now. So I will show you this quickly. The book of Ezra records and says, just a brief on it. Is a I'll go ahead. It's a remarkable witness to God's faithfulness to his people. So Ezra documents when he writes, it's believed he wrote the book of Ezra, he wrote the book of Nehemiah, he wrote the book of First and Second Chronicles. That's what they assume and believe. You see, it's more on a nation or a national spiritual conscientization, or you see a documentation on how the nation is restored to its spirituality. So the book of Ezra is beautiful. We're going to use it to conscientize ourselves. Please allow me, there's a lot that I want to say and show it's a foundation of what we want to achieve, right? Look at this quickly. So Ezra, you will see in chapter 7, he's teaching the nation the word of God. He's taking them back to devotions. He's intending to encourage them to apply. You know, you will see the restoration of worship, the rebuilding of the church's foundation, the building of the altars. We're going to look into that, the Lord helping us. Let me read out the background. Number one, it says, he is the witness of God's faithfulness to his people. Now, the faithfulness of God is not measured against the unfaithfulness of men. No, the faithfulness of God is revealed in how he handles the unfaithfulness of men with faithfulness. Did you get that one? Israel sins against God. He throws them into the hands of both the Chaldeans, Nebuchadnezzar and company, as well as the Egyptians under Pharaoh Necho, Necho, and they get to be divided in that way. And some are left behind in Jerusalem, but they are under the governance of a governor who is appointed by Nebuchadnezzar. I mentioned the temple got destroyed, their houses get destroyed, the walls of Jerusalem get destroyed, and there is the dispositioning, and the nation is just at turmoil. All right. But here is the thing. Now, when God would have given them away, later he comes and he would, through Cyrus, get them released out of Babylon to go back home. All right. Now that's God's faithfulness. We see how faithful God is because he comes back and he delivers them politically. Why do I say politically? It's because they were conquered by another nation and they were captured by that nation for how many years? 70 years. And then later they are released in the terms dictated by God, but activated by Cyrus, the king of Persia and the founder of what do they call that destiny again, that rulership of Ezra. I'll tell you right now. Because my Bible provides some powerful stuff, if you know what I mean. All right, I'll get it for you as we go along. They mentioned something powerful and beautiful here. I read it briefly. Yes, the Achaemenid dynasty. So he became a most powerful ruler. You read the book of Isaiah, chapter 47 and 45. You will learn more about Ezra. When you do extra biblical material or reading thereof, you will discover that Cyrus's life resembles that of Moses, that of Jesus, and Abraham for that matter, where one of the relatives wanted to kill him, his grandfather. The grandfather managed to kill the father, but could not kill Cyrus. And we understand why. Because 150 before he was born, then Isaiah documents chapter 44 and chapter 45 with his name to it. So I'm showing you God's hand in political affairs. God is no, or politics are no strange things to God, and God is no stranger to politics. Don't mind me touching my nose. I just survived flu, but I had some painful stuff in here. So it's itchy from time to time. So please bear with me, those who are on video. But it's fine. Let's move on. Now, I want you to understand there is a powerful symbiotic relationship between politics and spirituality. Do not miss the mark. I will show you now. There's a deeper relationship between politics and spirituality. However, it is going to be an imbalance or the deficiency of spirituality in politics or politics in spirituality. There's going to be trouble in the land. God dictates that a man will lead his people after he would have dealt with them. So Cyrus becomes part of God's disciplinary strategy over Israel. And this is planned 150 years before Cyrus was born. So can you see the spiritual connotation of politics and also the necessity of politics in spirituality? Politics first, then spirituality will thrive. That is why the church need not be uh, oblivious to the political affairs of the land. Because in some ways, which I will show you, you can't speak politics and omit spirituality. Haven't you noticed during the canvassing state, when they were marketing themselves, the politicians, they were very spiritual. When are you thinking they are coming to? They don't come to church because they want to recruit primarily. No, they are seeking for spiritual intervention. How do I know? It's because those who believe in sangomas, they go to sangomas, they then go to church. We saw, among other parties I mentioned yesterday, they hosted sangomas and rituals were performed on stage. Politicians go to witch doctors for fortification. So there is a dense relationship between politics and spirituality. Now, I want to build my case nicely. As we delve into the book of Ezra, you would be able to see that politics precedes spirituality in the chronological order of the formation, the development, the growth, and the settlement of a nation. Go to Israel out of Egypt. God had started building a nation when 80 people entered Egypt and they grew. But you would notice this, they went into Egypt on spiritual account. Okay, how so? A man has a dream, and a man or a boy and gets rather sold out to Egypt. When he gets there, his name is Joseph. You read Psalms 105. It tells you why he went there, how he went there, how things were. It will tell you that God caused famine in the land, so that then Jacob and the rest of them will join him in the land of Ham, where they grew into a nation. And at the appointed time, he rose to power. And when he rose to power later, they were then released now as a nation back to Canaan. Now you would notice how much politics are a preceding factor to spirituality. Jesus ought to be born, but he could not be born until a nation was birthed. And a nation could not be birthed until a political activity is embarked on. God calls Abraham to leave his land, politics. He comes into another land given to him, politics. So God takes him out of Ur and he brings him to, or he takes him out of Haran, because that's where he moved to with his father Terah. Then Terah dies in Haran. From Ur, they went to Haran. Then Haran, God takes Abraham out of Haran and he gives him Canaan. All right, politics. You must remember, in Canaan, there were already the Hittites, the Badadites, and stuff. Why is the land called Canaan? It is because the son of Noah, Canaan, when they got out of the boat in Mount Ararat here in Iraq, he went up north but stuck in the Middle East. When his brother went up north and formed Europe, or the Europeans, and our ancestor Ham came down southwards and he began to produce us blacks and a bit of Arabs, because he had Mizraim, he had Canaan, he had Put, he had Cush. So Canaan went up with Japheth, the elder brother or the uncle, who went up north and became Europe. And then we had Canaan in the Middle East, who is now the originator of your Jebusites and them. Then Shem went almost far east, and he produced all of these people that you see today, your Chinese and them. You must know Chinese are black. Don't be deceived. Thy men are swart. Van, they are descendants of Ham. So Chinese are really black, not politically, but by origin. Let me repeat the sons of Noah. I'm trying to paint a picture of the symbiotic relationship between politics and spirituality. And immediately after a political activity, a serious, intense spiritual engagement must happen, which is what I'm about to do prophetically today. Hold it right there. So, Noah has got three sons. The firstborn is supposed to be Ham, but because he slept with his mother, then he was demoted. Japheth becomes the firstborn, and then Shem, the secondborn, then Ham, the thirdborn. Then Ham has got four sons: Cush, Puth, Mizraim, and Canaan. These are the four sons of the black man called Noah. When you read one of the books that are excluded from the Bible, it will tell you that Japheth was white, Shem was red, Ham was black. Now, I'm telling you that they were black, the sons of Ham: Cush, Puth, Mizraim, and Canaan. They were black. Okay. Canaan went up and he forms that land called Canaan today, black. Put and Cush around the vicinity of your Sudan and them, the area of Nubi. Then Mizraim is Egypt. Egypt is the son of Ham, Mizraim, who is then the producer of Arabs and them. Okay. So these four brothers is what I'm showing you right now. And I had to show you how they began to move. Then in that, you realize that later there is Ebere, then there is everybody else, then there is Abraham coming out of it. But then now he settles out there in Chaldean, in Babylon, down there. God later fetches him. He's the descendant of Shem. And when he leaves Haran, he is taken to the land of Canaan. Canaan is the brother to Ebere, who would have produced Abraham, or the relatives in there. So he's supposed to have gone to the other side of Far East, where he originates from. But God gives him a land in the Middle East called Canaan. All right, follow me. Don't worry. I'm very prophetic right now. Now, he gives him a land and he says, I'm going to give you this whole entire land as far as you can see. He gave him the land out, the land of Canaan. All right. But notice this. The land of Canaan belongs to Canaan. And the sons of Canaan are mentioned, your Hittites, Jebusites. It's becoming very political, but it is not without the divine involvement. God is at the center. It's God who says to Abraham, go to Canaan. I'm giving you this land. All right. But then now later, Abraham has Isaac. Isaac has Jacob. And Jacob has 12 sons and one daughter. And then later, one of the sons that he loved, Joseph, is thrown into the pit. Then Judas, they want to kill him. Judas says, let's not kill him. He's our brother. Let's throw him into the pit. Later, Reuben says, let's sell him to the Ishmaelites. The Ishmaelites, Psalms 105 says, they chained his legs, chained his hands, and led him to Egypt. When he got to Egypt, he's in prison. It is estimated that he was 17 years when he entered Egypt, and it took 20 years before he became the governor. So at 37, Joseph became the ruler of Egypt, meaning for 20 years, the boy was struggling. He was not long before he was accused of rape, and he was in prison. A friend forgot him in prison, and later another remembered him. Only 20 years later, 20 damn years. That's very important to hold to it. So can you see the political arena unfolding within the spiritual purpose? Now, Joseph is given dreams by God that he will be leading his people. And his people said, you are mad. And they wanted to kill him. It becomes political. Then they sell him. But the spiritual aspect of Joseph's life is active in every political affair around his life. He's in prison. That is not spiritual. It's a political thing because it is a criminal law that is applied on him. And he comes out and is promoted into the prime minister, political. But it is directed by his spirituality because he ought to lead the nation of Israel into Egypt and grow them. He must receive them and grow them. Then they come, when they join him, political, it's blasphemy. It's very political. It's not spiritual. Psalms 105 will tell you that God caused famine so that they could go to the land of Ham and look for bread. And when they came to the land of Ham looking for bread, they stayed for 400 years. Now, it's very political that they came, but it's spiritual that they stayed. In Genesis chapter number 12, chapter number 15, verses number 12, God says to Abraham, I will give you children as many as you can count, and they will stay in the land for a longer period of time. But when the sins of the Amorites would have been full in their cup, then I'll release them and deal with the Amorites. Can you see the interconnectedness between the political and the spiritual? Then the political before the spiritual. Now, come with me quickly. We are building a case. You're going somewhere. And then now later, 430 years later, they are out, politically led. Moses had to come on a very spiritual mission, but engaging at a political level. Then he dispatches the children of God between 3 a.m. and 6 p.m. called fourth watch, where they departed out of Egypt. And when they left, Psalms 105 says, none of them was feeble in their tribe. They were loaded with silver and gold, political. But they had a spiritual mandate, which is to go back to Canaan, the land given to Abraham, where Jesus must be born. And then they are out. Now that you get what I'm saying, you can see the interrelatedness from the story of Abraham down to the departure out of Egypt. Now, where we're about to read in Ezra, they are in Babylon. We also see a political affair interrelated with the spiritual affair. How so? God preserves a man called Cyrus, but before God gives him, or he makes him to come to earth, 150 years. Isaiah writes chapter number 44 and chapter number 55 of the book of Isaiah, documenting a man by name, calling him Cyrus. 150 years before he was born, God had already declared him a ruler of Persia, a commander of the Achaemenid dynasty. I don't know how I'm pronouncing it right, whatever. Now, you see, you cannot rule out politics as a believer. You cannot be oblivious as a believer, because there is such an umbilical cord where the politics are feeding from the spirituality. The spiritual purposes are going to be peddled politically. It's therefore very necessary that you voted yesterday, South Africa. But what's next? That's where we are. What's next? We can't sit and wait who wins. And when they win, We wait what they will do for us. No, we got to start moving. You will see as I take you through this thing. When they entered Canaan from Babylon and being led out here, released by Cyrus, they start rebuilding the walls. I mean, the foundation of the temple. Then they start rebuilding the walls. Then they start lifting up the altar. Then they start reintroducing worship. Then Ezra teaches them the law. Then the temple is rebuilt. Can you see? As soon as the political activity makes a way for people of God to settle as a nation, then the church is established, meaning the spirituality must follow. Now that we have voted, we need to focus spiritually. We need to activate spiritually. Otherwise, we're going to miss the bus. Politicians don't have the power to make the nation become what it's supposed to become. It will take the spiritual, it will take the church of Jesus, it will take the prophets of God, not the prophets of TV. No, the prophets of God who are interested in the nation, not interested in building themselves. Therefore, I am going to be teaching for a period of time, activating the church, provoking the spiritual, because we have allowed things into the hands of the politicians. And you must notice, I'm carefully using the word politics and politicians. Politicians are just a bunch of people who are actively involved into a system called politics, which is about the economics, the land, etc. But those people need to be led and guided and influenced by the people of God. You would notice this quickly. The Bible records and say, the people, if my people who are called by my name, God's people are going to see to the healing of the land. God's people are going to see to the rain in the land. God's people who are called by God's name are going to see to the direction of the nation. Now, if the church, if the men and the women of God are going to be quiet, are going to be somehow standing aloof and allowing the politicians, we will go back to crying about corruption, crying about load shedding, crying about crime, crying about a host of other things that are social ills in this nation, because we're thinking all we can do is to complain. Let me show you another different, difficult dynamics. Right now, you're thinking you voted the Christian party, didn't you? You avoided voting for other ones because you've got your reasons. I saw a Twitter thread. One of the leaders who's a pastor who is leading a political party, he is saying he is going to facilitate gay marriages. And then you will say you are avoiding secular parties because their values are not talking, hey, look at you, are not talking to the biblical values. I'm trying to show some right now, some deeper here. Okay, hold it. Show me in the next 6 months your Christian parties and their role in this country. In the next 6 months, they will be behind bars, sharing food parcels. Hey, you guys have got no idea. Anyway, forget that one. Show me in the next 6 months where your Christian parties will be, what their role is going to be. They're going to disappear, and they will reface again like good submarines 5 years later when they want votes. You understand? 5 years later, then you will see Christian party, believers in Christ party. For now, you will see Jack. You understand? Do you know, during COVID, the people who were actively involved is called Christian Charismatic, CCC. It was led by what's his name? Larry Matlala, Lucas Nkosi, and the like. The rest of the guys were absorbed into the politics, selling the church out. That's what they are good at. Playing behind the politicians, but not directing the politics in a spiritual sense. Now, what I want you to understand is the nation must not be left in the hands of the politics, or the politicians, but politics must be spearheaded by the spiritual and the spiritually sound. I don't associate myself with South African Council of Churches. They mean nothing to me. Why, Bushoman? They are promoting and peddling the concept of interfaith because they are dictated to by politicians instead of dictating the order and the direction of politics. I showed you what politics are. Now, this, therefore, I want to throw at the church. I want to equip the church. And let's bring it down to a better level. Don't look at it from a general space and a broader scope. You, as a believer, you have a role to direct and spearhead political matters spiritually in order to give this direction, this country a direction. There must be a plan where you are concerned so that you can be spiritually sound and have influence economically, health-wise, etc. In other words, we need to be living with the wisdom God has given us in impacting lives. You gotta be involved in taking care. Go find a child or 2 or 10 if you can, sponsor them. You are being politically spiritual, if you know what I mean. I'm going to show you that. Don't worry. The church ought to be actively involved in the community. That's how we lead politics spiritually. The church's role must be felt and must be experienced in the immediate community. In other words, Hikfen, as in our church, it's in Kwamhlanga, Mountain View, Zone 2. May the whole entire areas and the neighboring area begin to feel our presence, not because we have an open air, not because we have got a revival, but because we would have adopted schools where we are spiritual advisors within our schools. We need to have access to the police station, to the hospital. We need to create an opportunity. A beautiful idea. There are children who are going to school without food from their homes. How about me and the team of people from church? We open the doors every morning and we provide coffee and bread, soup and bread for the children. Those who are hungry, they must pass by the church, have something to eat. You see, for far too long, as the church, we have played as if we are belonging to our little own world. We have dictated what we want to be, not what God has sent us to do. Great Commission, it's about impacting the lives of the people so that they can see Jesus in whatever that we are doing that is impactful. Some are going to preach to them, but some must feed them. Some must dress them up or clothe them. Some must see to them that they've got employment and opportunities, and they get to see the love of God in how their needs are met by the church. So collectively as the church, let's impact the community. Individually, check your neighbors. Do you know who your neighbors are? I feel so ashamed as a village boy. My house is here with high walls. I don't know who my neighbors are. The other day I was driving out, got out of the car to close the gate. A matured elderly woman came to me and said, "You are a pastor." And I said, "How would you know?" And she says, "God has mandated me to pray for you because there are so many attacks. It's about last year sometime that are launched against you. And God has sent you this direction." She says, "I don't know you, but God told me that you are a man of God. I must pray for this house." Can you imagine? I don't know who she is. She stays house number 1, 2, 3, 4 from mine. You understand? And then the gentleman the other day stops me last week sometime. He says, "Mfundisi, can I get a lift?" And says, "Sure, come." He jumps in. So how would you know that I'm a pastor? He says, "No, but I know. We know you here as a pastor." "Oh, wow, good." And he says, "There was a wedding here. You had a wedding the other 2 years ago, and everybody knew it was a pastor's wedding, and you did not invite us." And I said, "But I was new in the place. I didn't know what is the procedure to go about it. Next time when my second daughter get married and my son get married, I'm going to invite you all." You see how our spirituality has been locked within the 4 walls of the church, and that's irresponsible. Do you know that the church ruled the world? You must understand that nation, the Jewish nation, was led by Sanhedrin. The Sanhedrin was the leadership of the church at the time. The man Josephus, he's the historian of the Jewish people. He was retaining their culture, and that was speaking to their religion or their spirituality. The church needs to come and amalgamate. The church has to come and coincide. The church has to come and be actively involved in the community. Politics. Don't just vote and go lock yourself in the church and have conference after conference, conference after conference. Now that you voted, come and lead the nation. Come and influence the nation. Come and guide the nation. Let's move towards the book of Ezra. Do you know that people in Jerusalem, in Judah, they were worshiping? Now, when they reinstated worship, it was to the nation, not to some church. It was to the nation. Jesus sent us to nations. We decided to go to mega church or build a mega church. It's nations. Hold it. So the nation of Israel departed Babylon, and the nation of Israel had to establish a temple. The nation of Israel had to work on worship. The nation of Israel had to erect an altar. The prophets of God were restoring the nation to God. What are we doing as believers recently and as the church? We are focused on a bunch of people we can collect an offering from. That's not how it's supposed to be. Then the politics, then the spiritual. It's then politics, then the spiritual. When they left Egypt, when they left Babylon, back to Canaan, then they rebuilt the building, the temple. Then they erected the altar. Then they started worshiping God. Then the nation returned to God. Now that South Africa voted yesterday, we cannot be looking at IEC or looking at whichever party that is going to emerge victorious. What are we doing? Let us rebuild the church. The churches, not the buildings, but let's, as the church, come together and be strong as a formidable force that Jesus said, even the gates of hell shall not prevail against it. Hold it. What do you think Jesus said? The gates of hell, when he said the gates of hell will not prevail against the church, do you think he was saying against the building or against our local church and their local names? No, he was saying where the children of God are, where the believers would be in a nation, the gates of hell must not inflict pain. You guys don't understand. Jesus did not call the disciples to go have a Hope in Christ for All Nations ministries and lock themselves up there. No, he sent them into the nations and says, go to the 10 tribes, the lost tribe of Israel. Tribes, not believers in Samaria. To Samaria. Now, Samaria, by way of composition, it will be the 10 tribes of Israel, excluding Judah and Benjamin. And they are situated in the north, while Judah was on the south, where Jerusalem was, where the temple was. So Judah, in essence, would have been locally, geographically, the nation of Judah and the nation of Benjamin. Judah and Benjamin. Then the rest, your Dan, your Gad, your Simeon, your Reuben, were also categorized as the Samaritan, the 10 tribes, Lapobes Tumakona, who were just naughty and out of order. That side. He sends them to the tribes. He didn't send them to a bunch of believers where you can build a church and lock them up and become a ministry or become a cathedral or become a temple. Salvation is a national thing after it is an individual conversion or experience. From there, it's a nation that we are targeting. I pray you hearing me. So we can't afford to be comfortable that we are 1,000 in a church and we are 3,000. There is about 1 million people over here in Kwamhlanga, in this region where our local church is. And we are about a church, when I check our membership over the years, we should be seated at about 1,000 people. But on a Sunday, you are having minimum 200 to 300 at some point. But here's the thing. We cannot afford to sit down and say we saw them on Sunday, 300 of them. No, there are 1 million. Out of 1 million, and you take out the 300, my math has never been that great. How many do you have? 900 and I don't know. I'll be the Zuma style now. There is a 300 out of the million. It's nothing. No, I don't know how much do you get when you minus. I'm going to say nonsense if I try to speak 1 million minus 300. Somebody write it in words, not in numbers. Did you see what the ex-president did? Trying to read the numbers and says, listen carefully. Okay. I pray the church is hearing me today. I am saying politics are God's way of allocation and settling a nation. And then the spirituality of the nation is God's way after he would have politically settled them, reaching them to a point of purpose, to a point of mandate, to a point of tasks. All right. So you would see that in the picture of Israel, the old Israel, the biblical Israel. So when I keep saying Israel and Canaan, those who are in politics out there, I'm not talking about your bunch of people you are calling the Jews here in Canaan. I'm not involved in Palestinian and Canaan story. That's a political Zionist slash Freemason affairs that don't affect me. I'm teaching the biblical Canaan, biblical Israel. So don't be confusing my messages with your bombarding of Palestine and Canaan. And no, I'm not there. I'm here. I hope this is making sense. So, and another dimension is when we speak about the biblical Israel, biblical Babylon, biblical Canaan, biblical exodus out of Babylon, we are literally addressing ourselves as the church today. So you must wake up as I speak because I'm going to be very prophetical. So I spoke on the faithfulness of God in the introduction of the book of Ezra. Ezra records how he was a witness of God's faithfulness. And I explained what God's faithfulness was. It took me into taking you through the formation of the nation of the nation of Israel, the sons of Abraham. I'm careful, Barcelona. When I speak about Israel, I'm not talking about what's happening there. No, I'm not. I've got my reasons. I'm not speaking about the Judaizers, people who joined Judaism and eventually became Israelites. No, I'm speaking about those who came from Abraham, Jacob, etc. Are you hearing me? Come with me, let's move. So Ezra speaks of the faithfulness of God. The faithfulness of God, I said, it's God dealing with people's, okay, out of 2 million, you get 9,099,700. Eh? 900,000. Wait. I didn't know I'm such an idiot. So out of 2 million, you get 9,099. It can't be 9,000. Shouldn't it be 900,099,700? So there are this number of people that we as the local church have not touched. And excluding out of the 900,099,700 people, you will get others in other churches. There's still a whole lot that is left. I'm trying to say to us, family, as the church, we cannot pay attention to the fact that all of us are in the church who are saved and we don't care about others. God is not interested necessarily in those who are in two instances. A sheep get lost, 99 are home. He goes for one. Jesus says, I still have many sheep that are not yet in the pen, that I must still go get. So Jesus is very national, while we are very local church orientated and mega church desperate. No, nations. So we're speaking on the nation of Israel in the Bible as led by Ezra and company. So I'm highlighting a few things before we interrogate Ezra chapter number 1. But we are looking at the notes now so we can make sense of the correlationship between the politics as well as the spirituality. So there is a faithfulness of God manifested politically. How so? He delivers Israel out of Babylon politically. They were captured during the war as he punished them, punishing them spiritual, capturing them politically. Then he releases them. Then Ezra speaks about how faithful God is to an unfaithful nation, because the faithfulness of God is not measured on the faithfulness of man, but we measure the faithfulness of God on how he deals with the unfaithfulness of men. Let's bring it to the church, the issue of faithfulness. While you were unfaithful to God, deviated, having gone wrong, at the point of repentance, he does not deal with you based on what you did. He deals with you based on what you are doing, repenting. He forgives you, he receives you, he reinstates you. I know I'm speaking like this. You had backslidden, you had sinned, you had fallen away. You are back in the church, but you are still seated at the back because you are living in shame. It's because you don't understand the faithfulness of God. When he forgives, Psalms 103, declares and say, he throws your sins as far as the east is from the west. And the Bible says in verses 12 thereof, he remembers how you are made. He remembers that you are dust. Now, the faithfulness of God must be revealed in his forgiveness of your sins and your reinstitution into your service back to him. That's God for you. He takes Israel out of Babylon. He plugs them back into Canaan. He allows them to rebuild the temple. He allows them to worship him again. You get what I'm saying? So you cannot downplay politics' role in the spiritual and the spiritual into the politics. So firstly, we're speaking and we will learn on the faithfulness of God. Number two, it says, Ezra and Nehemiah are describing the events leading to the return of the Judeans from captivity in Babylon back to the land God promised them. Number two, you see what Ezra records, because we believe that Ezra wrote the book of Nehemiah, he wrote the book of 1st and 2nd Chronicles and the book of Ezra. These books are speaking of the restoration of the nation that was scattered by God, even taken and captured by both Babylon and Egypt. Don't forget, it is not only in Babylon, the people in Judah, the two tribes were taken into Babylon captivity. And as you must know, and then there were the people of Israel, the 10 tribes, the Samaritan, if you like, were also conquered. So watch that. You must always know that. You must always remember. Hence, you've got Jeremiah prophesying back at home and in Egypt, but you have God, Isaiah, and them prophesying in Babylon, working in Babylon, if you know what I'm talking about. Right. Hold it. Let me not take it into that deep, broad one. I want you to come with me. The faithfulness of God. Number two, the collaboration of the men, both Ezra and Nehemiah. You see Nehemiah's role, one in Babylon. He goes to the king. He cries about the state of the nation, the state of the land, politics. He's worried about the conditions in Israel, politics. But then now he goes to God, and God guides him to go to Artaxerxes. And I was doing my countings, and we'll talk about that someday. There's a man, Artaxerxes. I forgot how they go. Xerxes, Artaxerxes, then somebody, and then Darius, and then Cyrus. Then Esther was a wife to the king there. Anyway, forget. I'm going to confuse you. Come back. Nehemiah goes politically before the king, spiritually concerning the land, and the land that's supposed to be of God, Canaan. You are with me? So we see Nehemiah and Ezra revealing or speaking or acting in line with the spiritual political affairs of the nation of Israel. Please don't get confused. I'm trying to be very prophetical, political, spiritual concerning having come from elections way too from now. And we are learning that from how Israel handled it, from the political activities. The next was the spiritual. How did it transpire? Follow me. So we see the faithfulness of God. We see the men of God at work, and the events documented concerning them. They show how God's faithfulness is revealed practically when he leads the Jews out of Babylon back to Canaan to serve the purposes of God. And again, we learn that through the experience of God proving himself as faithful, and through the leadership of Ezra and Zerubbabel, God fulfilled his promises announced by his prophets to restore his people from Babylon. We see, do you realize, do you know, God spoke about the Babylon capture and to Moses and through Moses, because in Deuteronomy chapter number 4, among other things, Moses tells them that you will sin against God and he will send you to a nation for a period of time, but later he will restore you. And the rest of the prophets came and spoke about that. Now time had come, and this is also where you must feature Daniel. Why? Because the Cyrus king, we believe, according to the studies, that he did not know that there is Isaiah 44 and Isaiah 55. Yeah. Then Daniel had to show him that King Cyrus, which is what we're going to read in chapter number 1 of the book of Ezra. He showed Cyrus that, by the way, God spoke that you will release his people 150 years before you were born. Now, when Cyrus saw that, he got excited and says, so the God of the Jews, the God of the Hebrews, appointed me even before I was born, then he started releasing the people of God. Can you see the power of God? Can you see that politics as well as spirituality are the two powerful vehicles through which God is saving his people? Forget that one. I'm going to skip the rest of what I wanted to read here. I want us to jump to chapter number 1 quickly as I build towards chapter number 5. Hold it. See here. Now, in the first year of Cyrus, king of Persia, that the word of the Lord by the mouth of Jeremiah might be fulfilled, the Lord stirred up the spirit of Cyrus, king of Persia, so that he made a proclamation through all his kingdom, also put in writing, saying, thus says Cyrus, king of Persia, all kingdoms of the earth, the Lord God of heaven has given me, and he has commanded me to build him a house at Jerusalem, which is in Judah. I want you to please follow me nicely. I'm going to be prophetical, politically spiritual right now, so that the church will awaken and you begin to realize that your jurisdiction is broader than your local church and your denomination and your religious institution. It's national. The nations need to benefit from the fact that you are a believer. Your spirituality must never be limited to you watching me online and then Sunday going to church and then go back with your life. No, your spirituality must contribute towards the national development plan of South Africa, for that matter, and the country you belong to. Come with me. Here we see Cyrus. He is a king in Persia. Persia would have been after he conquered Nebuchadnezzar. He then established the kingdom of the Persians and the Medes, and he became the superpower of the world. He conquered the entire world. If you go read Isaiah 45, you will hear God saying what he was going to do for this man, Cyrus, and what you read in Isaiah 45. It's exactly why then and how the king of Persia and Medes were established, the kingdom thereof rather, were established. You understand? So the story of Esther happens within the context of the Persian dynasty, or the Achaemenid dynasty established by Cyrus. I told you that Cyrus, when he was born, his grandfather killed his father, and the grandfather wanted to kill him, but God protected him. And remember, Cyrus did not know God. If you go to Isaiah 45, it tells you that I called him by name, and though he did not know me, I held him by my hand, though he did not know me. And I gave him to conquer nations, though he did not know me. And in Isaiah 46, verses 11, and it says, I will call the bird from the east, referring to Cyrus. Follow me nicely. I want to show you your God in how he works from politics into spirituality for the sake of the nation. As the church, we cannot afford to be ignorant. My question to you as an individual, what are you doing, contextually speaking, to your neighbors in your neighborhood as a born-again Christian? Are there children that you are sponsoring who are going to school without shoes? If you're not doing that, you might perhaps find something that is going to make your spirituality spiritual. Find a home. Go submit food there monthly. Check your neighbors. There are child-led homes. Go contribute. Your spirituality must never end with you being an elder in a church. It's so very, very surprising and sad that all Christians want to do is to occupy positions in the church and they feel spiritual. You cannot be in worship team and that's all you are doing for God. Something is amiss right there. Find somebody. Do good in the nation. Serve in the community. Your spirituality must be a nation building vehicle. Your salvation, besides getting people to be born again, and besides getting people to be born again, will not only be through preaching, it is also going to be practical works that you do. I love Matebula. The man is yesterday. He was what you call them, the observers. He was observing during election. Not only that, you will see him taking the church and going with them in Kempton Park, cleaning the street. Right now, the church, men and women, they are dividing themselves. They are cleaning the hospital, painting the schools. Why? Salvation goes beyond you cleaning the church. Most of us, we just want to clean our churches and we are noticed by the men of God. But our salvation is broader than that. That is why I challenge people who claim doctrine. I notice that they have got doctrine of theology, but they don't have the word of God. All they want to do is to sit back and look beautiful and sound funny, but they don't want to go out there and exercise what the Bible commands, what the Bible teaches. They will teach you about Ezra, but they do not do what Ezra said needs to be done, taught to be done. Understand me? And again, the prophetic, we are missing the bus. We are seeking jobs. We want to be prayed for to be married. Is that all there is to your gospel, to your salvation? Something is amiss. After you are delivered from your demons, come. That's why demons will keep whipping you from behind, because you are selfish. You want to be delivered from demons so that doors can open, so that you can drive the latest model of a car and live in the double story in some upmarket area. Something is wrong with you and your salvation. Then politics, then spirituality. When you get born again, is for your community, your impact. When Dorcas died, the community cried and said, this woman gave us food. This woman, listen, Apostle Ndobe puts it nicely and says, Dorcas is not the only one who died. No, people were dying. Nobody said anything about it. But when Dorcas died, they called Peter and said she can't die. The nation confronted God and said, no, she must not die. She must come back. They demanded her life from God. And look at God. Because the woman had impacted the nation. What happens? God gives her back. Dorcas comes back to life. All right. I want to challenge the church today. We cannot afford to be worried about the little church we belong to or the big church we belong to. What about the big community we are part of? Salvation must impact. You see, we miss the bus. We're thinking people must be born again and come to church. No, they must be born again, of course, come to church, but go and serve the community. When the Samaritan woman in John chapter number 4 would have met Jesus after she receives her salvation, she runs into the community. What are you doing when you are born again? You run to the seat next to the pastors. You want to know what is next you can do in the church. Very wrong. Let's rise as the church. Now that the South Africa, we voted yesterday. Now things are going to be happening. National Results Center and then Results Operations Center in Sandton. They're going to be running and broadcasting. And after that must come spirituality. What is spirituality? The impact the believers must incur in the nation, in the community, within their context, individually. Take care of the neighbors, individually. Take care of the schools as the church. Take care of the community. As the body of Christ, let's take care of the nation of South Africa. There is no political party that is going to bring a turnaround in this community. Even as you go on and say, yeah, this one's and that one, you wasting your time. God is looking at you. If my people who are called by my name will pray and repent, seek my face, and turn away from their wicked ways, I will hear their prayers in heaven, and I will heal their land. The land will not be healed because ANC wins. The land won't be healed because EFF won. The land won't be healed because DA won. The land won't be healed because MK won. No, the land will be healed because the believers are praying. The believers are actively involved in the turnaround of the nation. South Africa for far too long was left in the hand of unsaved politicians. And when they started living like the sinners they are, you are complaining as the church. Something is wrong with any man or woman of God who complains about corruption in the country, yet you still entrusting the country in the hands of politicians. You don't have to be a political leader. As a spiritual leader, you are more powerful. You are leading over thousands of people. My God, ANC needs millions of them just to sit in parliament. You just need the 3,000 that you have to turn around the community you are in, to make sure that the young people of your surrounding are taken care of. I always refer back to our church back at home, Hope Restoration Ministries. I mean, the man is working shame. There is an organization that the church is also part of. It's called People Matters. I want you to please give to that particular one. I want you to contribute. During COVID, when everybody else was locked up and looking for food parcels, they were giving food parcels in millions per month. You understand me? They are building houses. They build a house, Komagapan start. They go beyond their reach. They are going out and taking care of the community. That is exactly what spirituality is like. This singing in the church is good for worship. It's not for us, it's for God. We meet on Sunday to worship God. Jesus says the church or the pastors, the prophets and the apostles, the teachers and the evangelists must prepare the believers for the work of the ministry. What do you think the work of the ministry is? Singing, ushering, being a leader in the church? You are confused. The work of the ministry is in the street. Matthew 25 from verses 30, Jesus is saying, you did not come see me in prison. You did not give me food. You did not dress me when I'm naked. You did not visit me when I was in the hospital. That is the work of the ministry. The reason why there is gossip in the church, the reason why people are tearing each other in the church, the reason why there's so much wrongdoing in the church, it has nothing to do with the devil, but it has everything to do with the religious negligence of duty. We are lazy. When we are seated and doing nothing and just singing in the church and just ushering in the church, but we will end up doing all these funny things. Go out. When last did you tell people about Jesus in the street? When last did you visit all the people in the church? I mean, in your community. When last did you go to the prison? When last did you go and do hospital visit, including myself? When last did you go check orphans in your community? You understand? Unfortunately, the church has converted itself into a life skill targeting individuals and releasing them to go and prosper and make their first millions. It is so sad that the church will raise businessmen, professional people, just so the church has more money. I mean, that's been very myopic. The church must raise businessmen. The church must raise rich people so that the community must be made better. The church must build community centers. The church must build clinics to augment whatever there is out there. The church must build schools. The church must start gardens. The church must provide farming opportunities. The church must do that. But listen, the very same way we can acquire millions and build sanctuaries and cathedrals, which is good, and I love it. I want one. But let's come to a place where we also equip our young people. I mean, I'm looking at our young men here in Kwamhlanga, and I notice preaching to them is not the relevant vehicle. They know, most of them were born again, in fact, and they went to church for long. And I'm praying to God, and I'm saying, God, give me wisdom. And the Lord was saying to me, you need to individually take them, and you need to collectively inspire them. And I said, Lord, give me resources, give me money. That's why I'm looking for a job, people. I'm looking for a job. And the reason I'm looking for a job is not just for me. You see, we are good. We're good. God is taking care of us. I have ways of doing. I'm looking for a job. I'm looking for a job because I found when you don't have constant income, you struggle to achieve ministerial goals a lot. I'm looking for a job. Who can I send my CV to? It's very thick. And I'm very industrious. Hey, Nkire, man, I'm looking for a job. Oh, Pastor Lebu, are they not looking for cleaners there by your job? You know why? Because I noticed I drive there all the time, every day for that matter, because I go to church to pray alone for every day at some point. And I passed this man by the corner. The other day I sat and spoke to them and they said, Maruti, hey, it's tough. What else can we do? We can only sit here and drink. So others are saying, I was not drinking. I was hanging around with the gents because there's nothing I can do. Then I ended up drinking. You go to the crossroad, those who are doing nyaupe. I am speaking on how the church should lead the politics of the nation without having to go and talk a lot, but do a lot. All right. So one of my goals is that I want to win the young men, not to church, but to the Lord. And not so that they can be more preachers there. No, but that they will be responsible members of the community, start their own families, take care of their own families. That's my cry. Look, Bazan, I died. 3 weeks back or 4, I died. Literally dead. And I'm not joking. I did not faint. I died. My spirit departed and I know where I went. Now, coming back, the Lord ministered so much in me. You would notice that even my teachings are different in some ways. You haven't seen yet. You will see. Don't worry. But there's a reason why I came back. Because I must only die when I'm 109 years old. So on the 12th of June, it's my birthday. I'm turning, I don't know, I think I'm turning 49. 2024 minus 75. Minus 1975 is 49, right? Good. So I'm 49 years old. It's the right year for bigger things. because the next year is Jubilee for me, 50 years. All debts cancelled, just total liberation, joy. It's called REM, RAM, male sheep. You know what that is? It's also called rest, REST. But what I need is Nkire, Mama Jessie, Nkire, give me a job. I need to reach out. I need to take this young man. I've done that before while I still had power, money. Let me tell you this. There were about six, I think, and housed them in Kempton Park. And I spoke to my buddies and I said, guys, dress up on Saturday and let's have braai. I want you to come with your cars. That's our traveler. The car that you usually take out. We're going to meet at Sepiso's house. And I brought the boys. They said, the boys, wake up, take a bath, everybody dress up. We're going to see me. And we invited our buddies from SAA. And I said, you must apply your expensive perfumes, still regular and go China. Dress up. And I want you to cook a storm. And we said there was music, no preaching. And I brought the boys from Kwamhlanga and we went there. We chilled. The boys were quiet. And somebody went to them and said, guys, do you need alcohol? They said, no. We do drink, but no, not now. We had fun. We danced. We ate meat. I never said anything. I just wanted to expose them. And then we got into the car. We went home. They were quiet. Nobody said a word. When we got home and I said, Jens, you okay? Do you need food? No. They were quiet. They just withdrew to their place of where they were sleeping and they slept. And we came back Sunday for church. And after church, I didn't see them. All disappeared. A week later, I was approached by parents. And they said to me, one went back to the parents and said, please, I'm asking for another chance. I'm going back to school to complete my qualification. He went, he completed his engineering. The other one was from jail. And he went to the father and said, pay for me. I want to go to, what is this one? FET. And he can do ceilings and stuff. The other one said, hey, books and me are not good. Can I be taken to driving school? And got himself a PDP. The list is long. As I talk to you, the other one is transporting us with his Avanza. The other one did our ceiling a bit. He was supposed to come and do the floor. He was busy somewhere. The other one is working. Now we are even partners. He gets my toilet when he's got events. I wanted to say this so you can understand. Nation building is the competency of a believer, is the competency of the church. Politics are a mandate of the church, not of unsaved politicians. They will eat your money. They must. Why shouldn't they? They don't have what you have. That's why it's supposed to be you in the lead. And you don't have to be in a political party for you to do that. You are a church. I just told you what Reverend SCs do with Hope Restoration Ministries. What are we doing as believers? Are we going to get where one has to get to? This is Ezra, unsaved, who didn't know God, and God is using him. Why? Because those God wanted to use are now in Babylon because they turned on God. And that's exactly the truth about the church. We have turned on God. We are doing ourselves. We want God for us. We want him to heal us. We want him to bless us. We want him to open doors for us. We want him to deliver us. How about we call all the delivering pastors to enter the community and deliver? Just deliver, man. Why must our deliverance services be accessible to people from other churches? Why don't you go in the football ground of a community and call on the demon-possessed, the sick of the community, and begin to deliver and heal? Because you are claiming what you are not doing. You are just making yourself look. Hey, there's a video going about. I don't know what happened to Papa. I don't know if Papa picked the wrong one, whose profile didn't match his prophecy. I won't go a lot in that, but it's a light of what I'm saying. Papa tried and say your father is dead. The father is alive. Papa tried to say you've got 5 siblings. He's got 2. Hey! And you could tell on his face, or yer, car. But that's fine. I'm not interested in that. We will end up doing that because the real power is not for believers. It's for unbelievers. The real miracles are not in the church full of believers and saints. They are out there for sinners. Yes, says you are joking. You ask me In my time when I used to go, going into the village, going into the community, the report you get. I just went here the other week. We had a week-long revival. The report we got out of there, the power that was manifested. This is my point. We have taken what is meant for the nation, we have confided it into a small space of our churches so that we are known as a powerful church, as a miracle church. What is wrong with believers? Why do we have miracle church? No, we're not supposed to have miracle church. We don't have to have deliverance services. No, we need to have miracle working men of God stepping into the community. But you keep saying nyaupe spiritual. Mara, you are never could go into the crossroads where there's milking nyaupe and beat the hell out of nyaupe spirit. You keep saying depression is a spirit, but you are never in Vista. You are never in the other hospital, psychiatric hospital. When you visit the hospital, why don't you go to the psychiatric wards? There are people who lost their mind because of depression, and you are saying it's spiritual. It's because you are only speaking well. You mean none of the things you are saying. If you did, come. I invite you. Come. I will take you to the right places. I'm saying here today, Baselwani, when Cyrus was a pagan who didn't know God, but because the people of God were captured in self-driven needs and pursuit of their own ambitions, God got them captured. Then he raised a man. The other day, a prophet was caught up in greed and a donkey spoke. God will choose a donkey. I'm yet to understand, where were the intercessors when Jesus met a prostitute and a homewrecker in John chapter number 4 by the name of the Samaritan woman? Where were they? It's because we're not here as the church. We're doing ourselves. We want to be rich, which is good. My problem is that all there is to it? When last did the church just go out into the community? No, we want the community to know about the powerful church with a powerful worship team, with big expensive car. Nah. My desire, Cyrus says, the God of the Jews. Can you imagine? Should God raise unsaved businessmen in this community who will take children to school, who will do good for them while the church is here? And I'm a man of God, I'm here. I don't want that one. God, start me with 5 million, J, and I will show you, Papa. Give me, go deeper, Papa. Give me 10 million right now, Jesus. Just give me 5 million. Not to make a 5, coach. Mpe 5. Mpe 5, oh, give me 5. What are you going to do with it, Tabo? Mountain View will never be the same again. Not our church. The community will never be the same again. It'll be transformed. Come out, Mustru. We're going to turn it around. The first thing I'm going to build is a rehabilitation center. Then because there's a mega problem of substance and alcohol abuse here. Nyaupe, marijuana, and alcohol. It's bad. Number 2, I'm going to build a massive skill center. That is not going just to be a skill center. It must first research skills that are going to be generating income that are needed. Skills that are not just for the immediate environment, but across. That is spirituality. Give me 5 million, Papa. I'm going to buy a land. Boom. A big land. Skill center. Rehabilitation center. And whatever else that we need in order to develop the community. That's it. So, look at what God raises this man for. So, number 1, he raises a pagan. Number 2, he instructs him to build a temple for him. Oh, no. You understand that? He builds a temple. He is a king, political. He is going to build a temple, spiritual. Now that you voted South Africa, what's next? Let me tell you, spiritual. What is spiritual? By the way, spirituality is not no, that's not spiritual. That's a trance. Spirituality is not that's a trance. Spirituality is the ability to apply biblical principles in our day-to-day lives, even if irrespective of, even though, to the glory of God. What are the basic principles of Scripture? Love your neighbor as you love yourself. How do I love my neighbor? Do I go over the wall every day and say, hi, neighbor, I love you? No. I go through their gate and I observe their needs. And I find they are a child led family. And I realize, okay, food is an issue, or I can only afford food. There must be food stuff provided every month for that. I'm loving my neighbor as I love myself. How do I love myself? There's always food in this house. If my neighbor doesn't have food, how do I measure my love for the neighbor? I see how I love myself. I love myself by providing food daily. Then I bring food. They must have food daily. My neighbor. All right. So you shall love the Lord your God with all of your heart. What does it mean to love God? God, I love you. Papa. Daddy. No, that's not it. He says in 1 John 4:20, how can you love me who's invisible when you fail to love them that are visible? What do you see when you go around in the community? Right now, if you step out, children are going to school. If you walk out and stand by your gate or stop your car by the road and observe the children going to school, you will pick 4 to 10 who don't have shoes or don't have proper jerseys on. You have got money, don't you? You can ask them, which school do you go to? What's your name? That's you don't need to do arrangements. No, you go to Pep store, you go to Arcamens and whoever. A pair of shoes maximum is 300 rand. You buy 5, you got their sizes. You drive back to school. Hey, I met child A, child B, child C. I don't need to. I don't need much. I'm a child of God. I saw a need. I've got a jersey for them. I've got shoes for them. You are loving God with all your heart, all your mind, and all your strength. I'm helping you, family. Christianity, it's not a concept. It's a life that must be displayed. It's a religion that displays life, a God life. So why Ezra must build a temple is because the people of the temple were enjoying themselves in sin and God got them captured. And he raises this man. So after the political part of releasing them, God brings in the spiritual and say, build me the temple. Go build the temple for me. So Cyrus tells the God of the heavens. Number 3, the pagan obeys the God of the heavens. He had many gods. Tomorrow we'll make time and read him or about him in Isaiah 45. We'll also reflect on 44. You'll be shocked what God says about him before he was even born. Apparently 150 years before he was born. And now he is born. Daniel shows him the scriptures about him and he acts on it, obeys God. I'm showing you scriptures right now that you have voted. What are you going to do with it? You've been hearing me for 5 years on this platform. 5 years non-stop on this platform. 5 good years. I want us to close right now. We go into Gogo space. 5 years non-stop. Look at this man. He was shown what the word says. He acted on the word. I was rushing to verses 10. He further says in verses 3, who is among you of all his people? May his God be with him, and let him go up to Jerusalem, which is in Judah, and build the house of the Lord God of Israel. He is God. That's Cyrus. Now he is instructing believers. He's not a believer. Number 2, he knows when God said he must build the temple, he didn't really have to go and build it himself. He released the people of God, and not just release them. In verses 10, if you go there, let's take it from 9. This is the number of them: 30 golden platters and 1,000 silvers and platters and 29 knives, 30 gold basins, 410 silver basins of similar kind, and 1,000 of articles. These are the things that Nebuchadnezzar took of the temple in Jerusalem and took to Babylon. Cyrus is giving them back, and is giving them even money and resources to go and work. You will see when we get to chapter 5 where he's doing where the actual work continues. There are people who are actually even complaining because there's another king who came in and they want to report the work of the temple. But please follow me nicely. What we achieved today is we saw that politics are not a competency of politicians. Politics are a God system that must be led by God people, not the Christian parties. No, must be led by the church, the believers. So whether you voted for ANC, ACDP, or whoever, it does not matter. Somebody had voted the other one because it's led by a pastor. And they were so disappointed when they found that the pastor is actually promoting a same-sex marriage. And he says, you see now, because there is a political party. It's not the church. And he's a politician in that capacity. He's not a pastor. Now, I am teaching you prophetically here. There is a relationship between politics and spirituality. You don't need a political party to drive a political agenda. You need God who's interested in the nation to excel in politics outside political systems of the country. You can and you must. Are you understanding me? Good. Now, Cyrus rises and he obeys the God he did not know, the God he did not serve, but the God of politics, the God of the nation. All right. I pray that God is going to help us, that we as the nation, as the church in South Africa, we are going to beat Cyrus at it. Or now that Cyrus is going to rise into power, he must find us in the mission of building the church of God. By building the church, I mean, as Christians, we coming together, we're beginning to focus on nation building projects, either targeting child-led houses, making sure there's food in there, making sure that their roof is intact, making sure that they go to school. Let's approach schools. Let's approach old age homes. Let's approach places. Barcelona, give me a job. You know, we start. We used to go to there's a lady who runs an institution for children who are handicapped and as you know, I don't know the names of the diseases they are diagnosed with, but she's got a bunch of young children who parents will take the your HDDD Dondoni, your autism, children with autism and stuff, and the Cyrobra, Kurla, Brigre, I can't name them. And we used to go there and contribute. Now we don't have the strength because I was also contributing as I was working. Please give me a job. Somebody hire me. Oh. Can I send you my CV? Please. I'm serious. I'm not in the spirit now. I'm in the flesh. I need a job. And we do that. So please, let's do that. Let me summarize what we read. We read here of the faithfulness of God as documented by both Ezra and Nehemiah. And what also did we read? We read also that our God raises a man who didn't even know or believe in him and used him. Why? Because the people who believed in him were locked up in Babylon and they were failing in their mandate. Again, this man Cyrus becomes a model to us. He just read the word of God, believed it, and acted on it. He was told something written 150 years before you were born, here with your name on it, that you will release the people of God to go and build, and you will sponsor the project. And he acts on that without failure. And listen to what he says about God in verses 3. He says, who is among you of all his people? May his God be with him. And he says, and let him go up to Jerusalem, which is in Judah, and build the house of God, the Lord God of Israel. And he says, he is God, my father. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And it is left in any place. And he says, and whoever is left in any place where he dwells, let the men of his place help him with silver and gold, with goods and livestock, besides the free will offerings for the house of God, which is in Jerusalem. Come on, guys. Come on. This man is not saved. He's a politician. He's a king. He heard what God said. He did what God said. My prayer is that we cannot have a role model of a sinner, but in this guy we have. He hears the word. He acts on it. He does not only release the utensils of the temple that Nebuchadnezzar took, he also instructs the people of Persia to give to the Jews nation so that they can go build the house of God for the nation. So God has a national agenda, not a local church vision. He does not have that. He's got a national agenda which must be driven by the local church. May God bless you today as we go to join Ugogo on the other space. Family, please, it's my prayer. Let's not leave the country in the hands of the politicians. Of course, I voted. I won't tell you who I voted, but I voted. I did. Of course, I voted ANC and ATM. I did. Hey, Bushaman, get out. Don't even start that one. You will not finish it. I voted ANC, thank you, nationally, and here, and then I gave regional to ATM. I've got brains. I got brains. I don't need ANC or EFF or DA for me to run the politics of the country. I'm a spiritual man. I have got my mandate. No, so nah. Next time, okay, I'm telling you, your Christian pastor who's leading a political party, he's just disappointed those who voted for him because he's a politician. Leave it there. So there's no difference between Christian parties and non-Christian parties. It's like white sugar and brown sugar, same poison, different complexion. Vote for them, put them on the side. But you and I, let's work, let's lead, let's guide these politicians. Don't mock them. You are crazy. Why do you blame a sinner for sinning? Come, you and I, what are we doing? What are we doing? So I'm challenging us. Let's go and be spiritual beyond the church walls. May we be spiritual beyond speaking in tongues. May we be spiritual beyond just going to church on Sunday. What is your presence value in your community? The fact yokuthi usindisiwe la uhlala khona kuyini okuhle obakuzuzako kulokusindiswa kwakho. What is the good that they are benefiting in your surrounding now that you are blessed? You are not speaking to your neighbors. You are just Israel. You are a problem. That's not spirituality. Spirituality is very nationally inclined. Christian faith thrives on national impact. Nothing less, nothing more. We must study the book of Mark, chapter number 1, nicely. You will see that nations and cities were following Jesus, not some local temple or synagogue. Cities and villages and towns were following Jesus. But you would notice he would not just preach to them, he'll give them food, he'll give them wisdom, he'll give them life coaching. Of course. Have you not read I'm a Beauty Truth? You must follow them. He did that. He taught them how to administer money. He taught them how to plan. You know, God bless you real good. Thank you so much, Manager. You still there? Thank you, Feli. Thank you, Pastor Lebu. Miss B, thank you for joining. Kewo, thank you for joining. Baya Isong, thank you for joining. Masati, thank you for joining. I am worried I don't see Fanani. And I've been seeing the screen dancing. I don't know if the next network is bad or what. Thank you for those who stream yet. Mrs. Palwani, Mrs. Mazibugo Pule. I saw Mrs. Mashia. And on Facebook, Mrs. Nasemori. I see you there. Greetings to the family. Ceci Estanon Konyani, all the way from Botswana. Who else is here? Yeah, I see the Madi family. Thank you so much. I see you, Ceci Dinewo. I see you, Evangelist Mongwe. Good to see you, my good sir. I see you now, I think, for the fourth time or third. Thank you so much for joining us. And those that I don't see and are live with us, please, we want to transform you from just being a talker into a spiritual doer and excel at what you're doing. May God keep all of you and bless you. Have yourself a successful Thursday. Go out there and win. God bless you all real good and goodbye. Tita people, let us go and join Ugoguntuli on the other side. Bye. Hey, let's correct this gogo thing. So in South Africa, when you say gogo, there's a lot of gogo tendencies there. So it's not like your gog maweni, gog banbani. No, she is gog because she's an elderly preacher of the way. She teaches amazing. You must come to Twitter. So we've got Goguntuli. Her profile is prayer. I'm going to share it on my profile. Come to my file. Then you'll be able to join Ugogo. She teaches the word. Amazing, amazing, amazing teacher. So I keep saying Gogo, you thinking go pay to Abiano. No. Goodbye.